Thank you so much, Mark. And it's wonderful to see your beautiful faces and to join with you in practice. I each week there's a practice from the Song of Songs that is connected with the Parsha. And this week it's a very intense, wonderful, rich practice, but a little bit challenging for me. And I thought, oh well, this is what the day brings. So that's what I want to bring to you. The phrase that we're going to be looking at, and we'll show it to you in a moment. But I'll just say that what the phrase it says is this: here is this love song, and the lover says to his beloved, I see you, my love, as a mare among Pharaoh's chariots. And when I encountered this phrase, I was kind of shocked a little bit to be able to call in this image of Pharaoh's chariots. And it seemed, in a way, almost a scary image, because Pharaoh represents our oppression, our slavery, our tyranny. And there in the midst of it is this mare. And I read commentaries about it. I tried to figure it out with my mind, and I felt like I was coming up against a mystery. I didn't really understand it. And so as a chanter, what I do is I say, I won't understand this with my head. I want to be able to take it into my body and to live it, to let it live inside me. And so I began to chant this chant, and something shifted in me, and I realized I was singing a love song to my own body, which is that mare among Pharaoh's chariots. That body, which sometimes feels fragile, susceptible to insult in lots of different ways, that I live among Pharaoh's chariots. And yet this image of the beautiful mare just brought forth a sense of power and dignity and courage in the midst of that. And that in no way was the beauty of that mare diminished by where she was. And so as I sang to her, and that's what I'd like to do, what I realized is that the body is really the doorway to presence. It's like we can't get around it somehow. We can try to leave our bodies, but ultimately it's through the body, the awareness of body and the inhabiting of our bodies, that we're going to raise our consciousness, that we're going to expand to include the body of the world and be connected to God. A long time ago, I learned that I could not find my divinity except through my humanity. And I can't find my humanity except through the body. And the body holds amazing teachings if I will be with those teachings. So one of the great teachers of embodiment named Rabbi says, meditating with the body as our guide, we come to feel that perhaps for the first time in our lives, we are in the presence of a being, our own body that is wise, loving, flawlessly reliable, and worthy of our deepest devotion. And that's what I wanted to bring to my practice, a deep devotion to and through this vehicle of the body, so that in my meditation, I won't sort of try to bypass it. And another great teacher of embodiment, David Abrams, talks about just how fragile we feel, and what we do in order to protect ourselves actually cuts us off. We try to get it under control, and it never quite works. And we try to shelter ourselves from this vulnerability of bodily existence. But everything that we do also, in some way, insulates ourselves from our deepest well springs of joy. And so he says that only by welcoming uncertainty from the get-go can we acclimate ourselves to the shattering wonder that enfolds us. This animal body, for all its susceptibility and vertigo, remains the primary instrument of all our knowing. And so and it feels that, in our practice, our meditation practice is about entering into the deepest place of knowing. And we need to, if there are places in the body that have gone numb, that have shut down, we are cutting ourselves off from the divine presence. So I want to do this practice with you and then sit in the space that we have created, the holy space of honor for this body, this animal body that we are, this holy animal that we are. And so, Adi, if you want to share these words with everyone. So we want to honor the body with our awareness, but not only awareness of body. There's a beautiful teaching by Judith Blackstone that says embodiment is living within, being present within the internal space of the body. It's something quite different than being aware of the body. So how I understand that there is, when we inhabit the body fully, there is a flow of energy, a flow of aliveness, which I call God, and I can identify with that flow, with that energy, and then the body, in a sense, becomes a sacred vehicle for presence. So I invite you to chant these words with me and to address them to this mare that we are, that is fragile yet so powerful, so holy. We'll chant it for a few minutes, really including every part of our bodies, bringing love to our voice, tenderness and reverence. Lesusati verichvei faro dimiti chrayati 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 Lesusati verichvei faro Once more, and this time really find the love in your voice. Maybe take your hand and put it on a place in your body that might need some compassion. I invite you to close your eyes as we enter the silence. Bring your attention to the breath. And imagine breathing into every cell in your body. Every cell in your body deserving of reverence, love, honor. Breathing in and out from your whole body. As you breathe into every cell in your body, breathe in compassion. And breathe out radiance. And breathe in honor. And breathe out aliveness. And breathe in a reverence for this body. And breathe out your own power and dignity. And you can continue with that breathing in and out of every cell. Allow yourself to be nourished in this moment. And feel the light shining out that's been freed up by that honor. Lesusati verich faro dimiti charayati 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 I want to close with a little story that is from this book that I wrote called Are We There Yet? And once I was leading a day-long retreat at a beautiful house in the suburbs of Philadelphia. The retreat culminated in a solo practice that was 1 hour long called Hitbodedut, which is similar to a vision quest. We each found our spot at the edges of the yard and sat there to pray and become receptive. About 45 minutes into my practice, a car pulled up near where I was sitting, and a man addressed me. He yelled from the car, "Do you live here?" I pulled myself out of my reverie and tried to respond, but I couldn't find the words. I was just dumbstruck with the profundity of his question. He repeated it a couple of times. "Do you live here? Do you live here?" When I didn't respond, he just drove away in a huff, and I sat there with that question, and it expanded within me as a challenge. How might I fully inhabit this incarnation, this family, this tribe? How might I fully inhabit this glorious and sometimes troublesome body that I have been so generously given? How might I take responsibility for the care of my body, my family, my community, and this amazing planet? Do I live here? Later, of course, I realized that the man in the car was lost and was just looking for someone to give him directions. But for me, he was a divine messenger who had come to challenge me and invite me into a deeper level of acceptance and integration.
Thank you so much, Shefa. Beautiful practice, beautiful chant, beautiful story. Friends, we seal our practice, as is our custom, by offering those in the morning, those who are observing a yard site, or if it's your custom to engage in the practice of reciting the Kaddish. For those who are not reciting Kaddish, I want to urge you to just stay put for a moment, to extend your practice by being compassionate witnesses and loving presence as a minion for those who are. If you are reciting Kaddish, you're invited to share the name or names of those you're honoring today in the chat box, either now or after we recite Kaddish. And I invite you to join me by rising in body or in spirit to recite the words. Yit Gadol, Yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbi. Biamal Tivrach Yute Biamich Malkute Chaye Chon Yomechon Chaye B'chol Beit Yisrael Bagala Uzmarim Imru Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba Barach V'Olam Lameh Hamaya Yitbarach Yishtabach Yishtar V'Olam Say Yishtar V'Daleh V'Kavod V'Edin
Tela,
Rihu,
Jim,
Elam,
Shrub,
Rata, Rakata, Nechem,
Elam,
Aniran,
Ta, Shirata, Shirata, Gamata, Bama,
Yehi,
Yeshua, Baba,
Rava,
Shema,
Rava,
Bechayim, Benevako, Israel,
Kayim,
Benevamenu,
Aleluia, Koyefet,
Shalom, Bimranav, Kuyase Shalom,
Yosef, Shalom,
Benevako, Israel,
Yamama,
Belko,
Yosef,
Yoshe,
Shalom,
Tevel,
Marinu, Yoko, Yisrael,
Amen.
Yoko, Yosheke, Hebrew, Amen. Friends, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we transition, I want to remind people that next week, all the days of practice, Monday through Friday, and daily set will be led by Rabbi Sam Feinsmith, and Sam's going to be leading us in an immersion in the intersection between Jewish meditation and Jewish prayer. Important to note that you don't have to be there for all the sessions. You can be there for any that you can join us for. Every session like this is recorded and posted on our YouTube channel if you miss anything. Most importantly, though, we're extending the meditations by 15 minutes. So the sessions will go to 1:15, and the Q&A or discussion will take place in the 15 minutes after that. So please adjust your calendars accordingly. I want to really thank Fran Zamar for sponsoring this beautiful practice today, and Adi Stein, as always, for holding us all and making it look so easy, holding the tech space for us so that to make this possible. And most of all, thank you for being here, for making this possible. For those who are leaving, I want to wish you a sweet, restorative Shabbat, and hope to see you back on Monday to learn and practice with Rabbi Sam Feinsmith. And for those who are staying on, if you have a question for Rabbi Shefa Gold, please put it in the chat box. And if it's a question, preface it. We are again having some issues with the chat. We're trying to work on that. As Adi notes, just send your questions or comments to me or to Adi, who is Institute for Jewish Spirituality, on the participant list, and we'll try to get to that. Shefa, as usual, really beautiful. Thank you so much. I wanted, given that the focus today was on our bodies, our animal self, our physical beings. I wonder if you could speak a little bit about how chant. We had several sessions this week which employed chant as a vehicle, or as a on-ramp to the meditation part. And it struck me as I was sitting and chanting with you, that it's such a, I would say helpful, but then once you realize how helpful it is, you realize essential tool to ground oneself in the body, which, as you said beautifully at the beginning, I think you said is the gateway to presence. Yeah. So we have to start with the body. And the chant, which I noticed also, the vibrations in my throat and my chest, did the job of getting me out of this thing up here and into the rest of me down here. Whereas usually the neck is kind of a very effective barrier. Serves a very effective barrier. So I wonder if you would just talk about that, just as, as your of course, this is your bread and butter. So, but it may be new for a lot of people, and a lot of people may not have thought about why the chant? What's that about? There's also a question about just practical question about your instrument. So maybe mention that too.
Yeah, this is called a Shruti box, and it is the drone instrument, and it keeps us in tune, gives us a foundation for the chant.
Yeah, I like that kind of drone. That's a good drone.
Good drone. I think that idea of getting out of my head is like a major, benefit of chant. And, not only, it brings me into the body, but also plants the sacred phrase in the body, so that it's going to be there as a physical memory, because that's where the memories are. And I want to plant these memories in my body. And so I can think about things and I'll forget them. but when I put it into my body, those phrases live inside me, and they seem to just do their work. They're like, I call each phrase a kind of a medicine, and I want to be able to let that medicine sit inside me, and also really to open my heart, because and my main practice is really a silent practice of meditation, of being with God. But what allows me to do that practice, and to do it also in a Jewish context, is to take the sacred phrase and let it be the doorway for me to enter into that space of connection with the one.
Thank you for sharing that. That's really really
I think that the thing that is that it's fun and it's beautiful, and so I sit down to practice. I just can't wait, to do that. It's not it's not something that is all kind of a drudge, because my silent practice, which might, might feel routine in some way, is always kind of framed by chant, and the chant helps me to move into a different state of consciousness, where something different is possible, where I'm not just thinking about things, but have a direct experience.
Let's move a little bit into the actual, so the actual imagery and language of this particular chant and that passage from Shira Shirin. So Monique Mayer asks, and maybe this is what you're referring to when you're talking about, like, this was not easy. This was not an easy Torah portion to find this. So Monique wrote, I was struggling a bit with this image because I kept thinking about how Pharaoh's horses drown while the soldiers chase the Israelites. That's one of probably a number of, potentially problematic aspects of that image, which you redeemed beautifully, I think. But so maybe you want to speak about that, and maybe I'm going to put the it's okay. I'll just put the words up so we can take a look at it also together. Here we go.
I have this strange custom in my Jewish life of being attracted to the most difficult passages of Torah,
Mm-hmm.
and I always find that they bring me to the deepest places, because everything that I read in Torah is also inside me, and often it's an unexplored part of me, or something I don't want to look at.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that kind of this attraction to what's challenging, and also a kind of a faith in that process of redeeming, because I am don't live in the pshat world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
That's
so the literal
right.
world.
Mm-hmm.
And Torah for me, all of Torah to me is not about something that happened some time ago, or that, to somebody else. It's always about what's happening inside me in this very moment. And so I wanna take it that way. So I don't know if.
So yeah, and so your drosh here on it. I also, that just, I know you didn't dwell or read your commentary, but it's beautiful and it's worth looking at here. That the way you redeemed it was by identifying the mare as symbolic of nobility and power, and associating that with Sarah. And by the way, I don't remember who, but somebody wrote in a comment that they had never thought about Sarah as an admirable ancestor, but you pointed out, Sarah's incredible resilience and the power that she has in Torah and in the tradition. And so resolute in fierce beauty is such a fantastic phrase. Radiant in dignity and resolute in fierce beauty. I just wanted to, I didn't want to let the time pass without highlighting that. And then here, of course, you explain how you make that association with Sarah, but with all that she went through, and just to get us to the point of transitioning into preparing for Shabbat with your question for reflection and dropping it into our minds. Can we listen to, honor, and respond to the messages that our bodies
And
send?
The last time I was on this IJS thing, um, somebody asked, "Well, what does it have to do with the Torah portion?" And
Mhm,
then I became more inspired.
mhm.
Every week I write the bridge to Torah, and if you want to put that up again, I'll just
Yeah, hold
share
on, I'll
that
do it. Yeah, I
bridge.
will. Hold on.
And there's when I someone asked me before, I thought, well, everything's related to everything, so I'm sure I can find a connection. Our mother Sarah was once a mare among Pharaoh's chariots. Back in chapter 12, she
Mhm.
was taken into Pharaoh's house because of her great beauty and because Abraham had pretended to be her brother. And now, as Sarah dies, her legacy of power and beauty must find a place within us, her descendants. Abraham procures the cave of Machpelah as a place within us, where the ancestors lie. We enter into that ancestral cave through our own bodies that hold the memories, traumas, and secret wisdom of the ancestors.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Shefa, and it's worth just dwelling with that. And for many people, I think, don't necessarily understand that idea of Torah as being not not taking, as you said, not taking it on the literal shot level, but understanding it as operating on a much deeper and reflecting cosmic and internal dynamics that are happening right now. So even just the example, the cave of Machpelah, which is the burial place that Abraham, like you said, procures from the natives of the land, to think about that as a place within us, that we each have a cave of Machpelah within us that holds all of this, that holds the ancestors
We
and
can
honors that well.
we can go there.
We can always go there. It's really quite amazing. Beautiful.
Accessible.
Let me just see if there's any other questions here. No, I think that's it. That's it in terms of questions. So maybe we'll leave it there. Let's leave us with that question. So, Mayor, for the
This
blessing. Go ahead. Do you see
period
something?
of Torah that I think is so important. The first time I ever had an aliyah, I was very excited, because I grew up not being able to have an aliyah, and I thought, okay, and in the tradition of Jewish renewal, whatever part you read is really has to do with the blessing you'll receive from Torah. And so I knew I was going to have this aliyah. I opened up my chumash, I looked, and everything I hated about Torah was in that section. I was like, and I said, "Oh no, this is my blessing. This is my first aliyah." And I think it was Parshat Matot. It was just a lot of violence, a lot of killing, a lot of things that I would like to avoid. And so I kind of dragged myself up to the bima to have my first aliyah. And as I was saying the blessing, I heard a little voice in my ear that said, "And this is yours too."
Hmm.
And it was really at that moment that I understood that there was nothing in Torah that wasn't also in me.
Mhm.
That I was being sent on a journey, really. You said the word to redeem it. Hadn't
Mhm.
thought about that way, but to redeem Torah, but to find the goodness even in the most difficult places,
Right.
because that's what life is made out of.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most beautiful aspects of the mystical tradition is the idea that, first of all, if there is no place devoid of the divine, then that includes the hard stuff too, which we turn, as you described, we turn away from, we avoid, we deny, we don't
And the
don't
things
want to
that
go there.
things that we do to avoid are often worse
Right.
than
Right.
themselves in the long run.
So there's one more question, actually was something that I meant to ask you about too. So I'm grateful, Linda Blackman, for bringing it up. Linda wrote, thanks for the gorgeous teaching meditation. Can you repeat the words that go along with breathing in and breathing out? I don't know if you can remember what you used, but it struck me that what I loved about it, Shefa, was that, often when teachers are offering instructions for breathing in and breathing out with associated phrases, the breathing in is something you want to take in and the breathing out is something you want to release. But in your case, the breathing out, the instructions you gave us was a blessing of manifestation, or putting back into the world something, which is a very different practice. I really learned something from that. Do you remember what you said?
um, that I'm breathing in the breathing in was compassion,
Hmm.
honor, and reverence towards the body and towards every
Hmm.
cell of the body. And the breathing out was radiance, aliveness,
Hmm.
power, and dignity.
Can you hear that sound?
Yeah.
Can you hear that sound? All right, a lot of appreciation in the chat. And I want to thank you, Shefa, for making time, and we hope that you wish you well, that you feel well over Shabbat and going forward. And same for everyone here. May it be a beautiful Shabbat, full of blessings, embracing your mare and among the chariots. And that will stick with me. So thanks to Adi. Thank you, Fran, again for sponsoring us. And thank you all for being here. See you on Monday with Sam Feinsmith. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.